So if you have your notes, you can get your notes ready. Now, a famous teacher, a meditation teacher, once said, everything is teaching us. Right? I'm sure some of you know this is written in one of Ajahn Chah's book. Everything is teaching us. So this everything is teaching us. What is this everything? There is a special sutta called Sabba Sutta, the Discourse on the All. What is this all? Everything, the all, are our six senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, and the objects. What we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think. This is the all. Okay? This is one way of looking at reality. This is all there is. And the Buddha said, if you try to think anything more than this, you will just trouble yourself. You won't be able to do that. This is the everything, right? And all these things are teaching us. We learn through what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and of course, what we think. So this is also what the Dhamma is trying to teach us. Dhamma is everywhere. Yes, we have suttas, but the Dhamma is everywhere. The real Dhamma is unwritten. The suttas are special texts that help us to focus ourselves and find out what did the Buddha experience. Even then, we only have an idea what he experienced. We can have a taste of it when we meditate. We feel very peaceful. Imagine the Buddha felt even more joyful than that. Okay, so this everything is teaching us. Another way of looking at it, instead of the six senses, we can also see them as the five aggregates. Now, the six senses is more what's called something like the cognitive aspect of Buddhist psychology. That means the knowing aspect. We know through our six senses, five physical senses plus the mind. In Buddhism, we often talk of the six senses. The five aggregates is something deeper. It's something perceptual. Okay? In other words, we deal with not just how we think, but also how we feel, how we recognize things, and so on. Okay. So why I'm saying all this is because our sutta today, the Anatta Lakkhaṇa Sutta, the discourse on the non-self characteristic, is about the five aggregates. And this is the second sutta, right? That the Buddha is teaching the five monks. Right? First the Dhammacakka Sutta, and then this Anatta Lakkhaṇa Sutta. Okay, but the Buddha taught other teachings to the five monks. Right? One of the earliest teachings is called the Pasarasi Sutta, the heap of traps, or heap of snares. The Buddha mentioned a bit about impermanence, and then the Buddha talked about suffering, right, in the Dhammacakka Sutta. And then today we're going to look at the third sutta, where the Buddha teaches the five monks about non-self. And you can see it's a very clear pattern here. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. The Buddha is introducing to the five monks the very first class on Dhamma in the world. First, the Buddha talks about impermanence. So don't run after what's impermanent, and everything in the world is impermanent. Number two, whatever is impermanent is suffering. And that's the Four Noble Truths. Today, the Buddha goes deeper and teach this monk about non-self. And this is the Anatta Lakkhaṇa Sutta. The main teaching in this sutta are, of course, the five aggregates, with the theme of non-self. In fact, this sutta is significant, very interesting. I just learned this a few days ago. You can actually call this the 555 Sutta. And we're going to find out what the 555 are towards the end of this study. Yeah? Now, let us refresh ourselves with what are the 5 aggregates, okay, through various reflections. Basically non-self, especially true non-self. Okay, so we're going to look at non-self. We're going to look at the 5 aggregates, especially how they connect together. Now, a few years ago, a couple of years ago, or I think earlier than that, both Ratna and I, we had our what do you call that, cataract removed as part of our eye, cleared up so that we can see better. You know, you had SH catch up, you get all this cataract. I also had my lenses replaced, eye lens. Can you imagine now that lens in my eyes are crystalline, they're not real human material. So that part of me has been replaced. When I was younger, as a monk in Thailand, my appendix was removed. So one part of me is gone. Then later, I think it's my right wisdom tooth got removed in Thailand. Got another part missing. Then I went to Holland, so spent a retreat there. My other wisdom tooth is gone. So parts of me are missing, and then you have this new lenses added on. Now, there are some other people who even have heart transplant and body parts replaced, you know, and so on. Now imagine, you know, if our body is being replaced part by part, even a new heart, you know, who are we then? I mean, if the heart is the most important part of our body, and you change your heart, are you a new person? So we have questions like that. I'm only asking the question. We're not going to think too much about it, but we're going to see this, what we learn from this kind of questioning. In fact, this idea of who we are, I mean, you know, some of you have not seen you for a long time, right? 50 years ago, even 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, we change. You know? How different are we? We often like to know how different are our friends, how have they changed? So this is one thing, people change. We may not, we may think they don't change, but somehow they do change. Now, why do we often like to say people don't change? Because the way we perceive them is the way we know them. This is a very important statement. Huh? The way we know people is how we perceive them. We don't really know people. We have ideas about them. We have opinions about them. We have views about them. We have biases about them. That's what we know about other people. We don't really know them. Of course, there are occasions when you may think, wow, you really know someone, maybe your spouse, your children, and you're so happy to see they have certain very wonderful special qualities, which apparently only 2 of you share. But that's rare. You know? So what the point here is, who are we really? Is there a part of us we can point and stop and say, that's me? You see me on this video. No? I like to say this, you know, when I have the chance, and I have the chance. When you're watching this, I probably may be dead already. Decades have passed, but here I am talking to you. I'm not there, but you see these pixels, this frame by frame, if you like, of me. And which one is real? You can't stop any frame and say, oh, that's me. There's no single frame that is me. Right? So this is one idea of non-self you can have. It's very difficult to define non-self. You can only think about it. It's mind-boggling and say, wow, that's all you can say. But you know it is a fantastic, beautiful experience, a liberating experience if you allow yourself to feel it. In fact, I have another interesting story from Greek mythology. The story of Theseus and his ship. Now, this Theseus is a Greek hero of Athens. He was the one who killed the Minotaur, the man-bull, the first king of Crete. No? Now, there's a, what do you call this, puzzle, philosophical puzzle, that's called Theseus' ship. So they preserved his ship, yeah? They said in ancient Greece after he came back. But as the ship grew old, a broken plank is removed and then they replaced with a new one. So they went on doing this year after year, generation after generation. Now suppose they replace all the wood, Now, can we say it is still Theseus' ship? Okay, again here, there's no answer. It's just a question. The question is very instructive. Is it still Theseus' ship? Okay, this is where we get a yes and no. There are two ways of answering. Yeah? And again, suppose there is another second part of this very interesting riddle. Suppose you take all those old pieces of wood, although they're a bit broken, never mind. Let's suppose that you can assemble them together and then you build again what you can get from these pieces of wood, and you get some form of ship. Is that Theseus ship or not? Okay? There you are. There's no direct answer. Yes and no. There is no essence behind all this. It's all how we see things. Things are made out of parts. All right. So this is the paradox of Theseus. This is found in SD 26.9. Yeah? Then we come to the point of ourself, our own body. We think, oh, this body, is permanent. I am my body. Really? Okay, here we have a very beautiful story from the Teri Gatha, the verses of the nuns. This Suba Teri, she's a very beautiful nun. She's also an arahant, or arahanti, if you want the Pali word. So she had this old boyfriend who came running after her, who's still in love with her, and tell her how beautiful she is and wants to be with her, go into the forest with her, and so on. To cut the long story short, the whole poem translated in the Sutta Discovery. The nun Suba told the boy, he says, so you say my eyes are beautiful. No? So she plugged out her eyes, she took out her eyes and she took out, I don't know, one or two eyes and gave it to this boy. Said, here, you think my eyes are beautiful? Have them. So there you are. Can you just love a person because of one part, the eye or whatever? You can't. We are not our eyes, we are not our ears or nose or tongue, body or mind, yet we are everything. So we cannot identify one spot and say, that's me. All right, so this is another thing. So this is where in modern science, modern technology, you have biometrics. So now the authorities try to find something that can identify us really without any issue. So they're thinking of biometrics, right? Maybe it works to a great extent, right? You see scientists using thumbprint, using eye scan, right? Then you see some of those TV series. What do? They chow the person's finger and then they use it to bypass the what they call the door, with all to scan and then get in. And I saw one scary movie where they even stole the scientist's eye and used the eye for the eye scan. So there you are. You have no control over your own body. It can be stolen. It can be taken away. So these are all reflections on non-self. We are not just part. We're not even the whole of our body, because our body changes. Our mind changes even more. Right? So this is the kind of background you must be prepared for when you look at the sutta. So we're coming to the sutta now. Anatta Lakkhaṇa Sutta. All right. So you can see the Pali title, Anatta. Here, usually the word is Anatta with a long final vowel. The last vowel has a macron over the A. Macron is a line above the vowel, showing that it's long, Anatta. But that's the noun, okay? This is adjective, Anatta. Anatta Lakkhaṇa. Anatta Lakkhaṇa originally in Pali is one word. Here I've separated it. Sometimes I use a comma to separate it to help us digest the Pali word. See, easier. Anatta Lakkhaṇa, the two words. Okay, Anatta means the non-self. Lakkhana, characteristic. Okay, Sutta is a thread of teaching that goes back to the Buddha. Okay, so we normally translate as text, teaching, but literally it means thread. In Malay, becomes sutra from the Sanskrit sutra. The discourse on a non-self characteristic. Okay, remember either the sutta name, Anatta Lakkhaṇa Sutta, or you can shorten it non-self characteristic sutta, or remember the number as 22.59, 22.59. Now here, this sutta also occurs in the Vinaya, MV 1.6, 38 to 47. MV means Mahawagga. This is the first chapter of the Vinaya, the historical chapter, so it's found in two places. All right, let's look at the start. Thus have I heard, at one time the Blessed One was staying in the deer park at Pavattana near Benares. So this is the same place as the Buddha gave the first discourse. Then the Blessed One addressed a group of 5 monks. Bhikshus, Bhante. The monks replied. The Blessed One said, okay, remember, can you see 3 in brackets 1? This is the first verse. So and then you can see 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you spend some time with the first verse. This is the key verse. Section 3, brackets 1. Bhikshus are monks. Form is non-self. Okay. Oh, some people translate as not self, no soul. Okay. But I've settled for non-self because most scholars agree with this translation. Form is non-self. So form here is a general term meaning anything physical. Okay. Anything physical. But by the way, here is almost like a scientific word. Even light is regarded as form. So you have the idea. Form is non-self. For anything that is form has no self, no essence. You cannot stop it and say, that's it. For bhikshus, if form was self, this form would not bring about illness or affliction. And it would be possible to tell form, here to tell meaning to make it so, let my form be such, let my form not be such. Okay, what's the Buddha saying here? The Buddha say, okay, form, for example, your body. We can't tell our body, don't get sick. Yeah, we can, take medicine, we know a lot of things, but it's not that simple. Look at the way COVID is going on now. It's really a big struggle. We have no real control. COVID will be over, then in the future something else will come, right? I'm not trying to be negative, but we have to look at this reality. When we understand this reality, then in that sense we are safe because we know what to do. It is wisdom that keeps us safe even in the face of danger. But remember, we have no control over even this body. All we can do is create the right conditions, exercise, take the right kind of food, don't take too much, have enough rest, right? We create the right conditions, but still our body will age. Our body will decay. So we have no control over this body. So the Buddha said, because of this, it is also unsatisfactory. So how can we say there's an essence behind this, something more than permanent, something beyond permanent? You can't say it is permanent. How can you say there's something beyond permanent that is some kind of self, some kind of essence? Okay, section 4. But bhikshus, because form is non-self, form brings about illness or affliction, bring trouble. But and it is not possible to say of form, let my form be such, let my form not be such. Okay. So notice there's always repetition because this is an oral tradition. The Buddha wants to make sure people are hearing the right words and remembering them. Okay, this is form. So you've got to make sure you understand everything here. This is the key. Form is non-self. Why? We have no control over our body. We can take good care of it, yes, but we still get sick, we still hurt ourselves. Even if we stay healthy, we still will grow old. Okay. Then in next section 5, you can see brackets 2. So now we come to the second aggregate. Form is the first aggregate, rupa, and second aggregate feeling, vedana. Visual's feeling is non-self. Now the 67 refers to the page, page 67 in the Pali of the Pali Text Society, their text, their book, printed in London about 100 years ago. There are also Singlish version, Burmese version, Thai versions. The pagings are different. This is to help us check the Pali. Okay, continue. For bhikshus, the feeling were self. Notice now it is feeling. If feeling was self, this feeling would not bring about illness. Right? Feeling also bring illness, right? And it would be possible to tell the feeling, let my feeling be such, let my feeling not be such. But bhikshus, because feeling is non-self, feeling brings about illness or affliction. And it is not possible to say of feeling, let my feeling be such, let my feeling not be such. We have no real control over our feelings. Yes, some of us can be calm, we can not be angry, which is good. But sometimes we forget. We can still lose our temper. Even if we don't lose our temper, there are other feelings that flood our lives that make us unhappy with no control over feelings. So that's the reflection. There's no self there. There's no essence there. There's no final feeling, the feeling, you know. All right, then the next, section 7. This is the third aggregate. Brackets 3 is the third aggregate. Bhikshus, perception is non-self. Okay, what is perception? It's how we recognize the feelings. We look at something and then we remember in the past it happened to us, and what happened in the past was something nice, and then we also see what's happening now, very similar, as nice also. That's called perception. How we recognize a person, a situation, a feeling, and so on. Perception. Yeah? Perception is non-self. In other words, there's no ultimate perception, final perception, essential perception. Okay, so same thing. For bhikshus, if perception was self, this perception would not bring about illness, and it would be possible to tell the perception, let my perception be such, let my perception not be such. But bhikshus, because perception is non-self, perception brings about illness. And it is not possible to say of perception, let my perception be such, let my perception not be such. Okay, now just a tip about reading Pali. You know, sometimes when we all are careful, we want to be sure that we're doing the right thing. Now, Pali is such that the language is very rich. And very often it is polysemic. Polysemic means one word can have many senses and they can apply all at the same time. For example, the word illness here. You don't think of illness only as being bodily sick, like a headache or some disease. Here, illness is a broad term. Notice I put the brackets there, which is called what they call kind of amplified translation or amplification. Or it can be what's called this alternate translation. There are two senses. Alternate, that means you can choose this sense. If you're not comfortable with illness, you can use affliction. It also covers the sense of affliction. Okay, that's called alternate translation. Amplified, that means it explains the meaning. Okay. So if you see affliction as explaining illness, yeah, then it is called an amplified translation. So okay, that is perception, right? We have no control over perception. Perception is non-self, right? Now, number 4, brackets 4 to section 9, brackets 4, bhikshus. Formations are non-self. Formation basically is the way you act that is karmically significant, that rooted in greed, hate, or delusion. In other words, it creates karma. Formations are non-self. For bhikshus, if formations were self, these formations would not bring about illness. And it would be possible to tell the formations, let my formations be such, let my formations not be such. Okay, scroll down some more, please. Yes, next page, yeah. But bhikshus, because formations are non-self, formations need to lead to illness. And it is not possible to say of formations, let my formation be such, let my formation not be such. So formations are also non-self, no essence. Now the last one, number 5, the consciousness. Section 11, brackets 5. Bhikshus, consciousness is non-self. For bhikshus, if consciousness was self, this consciousness would not bring about illness. And it would be possible to tell consciousness, let my consciousness be such, let my consciousness not be such. In other words, you say, I don't want to be conscious of this, I want to be conscious of that. Right? You may wonder, how does consciousness cause sickness? Well, mental illness is an example. Okay. Next. But because consciousness is non-self, consciousness brings about illness. And it is not possible to say of consciousness, let my consciousness be such, let my consciousness not be such. So we have no control over our consciousness. We are not even aware of it most of the time. It's there, but we're not aware of it, right? So there you are. Form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. These are the 5 aggregates. This is what we are, body and mind. And they are impermanent. And because of that, they are not satisfactory. They bring suffering. And thirdly, there's no self. Now, what do we do with this? Okay, this is the next part. Okay, section 12 onwards. Okay, this is a reflection also. Okay. Now, what do you think, bhikshus? Notice, now the Buddha asks the 5 monks, what do you think? In other words, the truth is there. The Buddha didn't invent all these things. The Buddha is saying, do you see this? I want you to see this. It's there. It's just a matter of seeing it. Brackets 1. So now there is question answer. No? Is form permanent or impermanent? The monks reply, impermanent, Bhante. So it is back and forth with the Buddha and then the monks, the Buddha, the monks. Okay. Now the Buddha asks, is what is impermanent unsatisfactory, meaning suffering, or satisfactory, meaning pleasurable? Unsatisfactory, Bhante. Is what is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and subject to change fit to be regarded as this is mine, this I am, this is myself? No, Bhante. Okay. So the key line here is the second last line. We cannot say of anything in this world, this is mine, this I am, this is myself. Okay. This is mine is when you try to own something. This arises from craving. This I am this, I am that, this kind of sense of feelings arises from conceit. This is myself arises from views. Right? Some people still believe in other religions, especially talk about soul, self, right? So these are called the 3 graspings. We grasp to things and say, oh, this is my body, I can do what I like with it. But it is not, because if we are to die, someone got to take care of disposed to the body. We affect other people who care for us. They suffer, right? So this is the key verse in this case. Eh? Okay, now many of us will say, oh, I know all this. Yes, we know all this on an intellectual level. If we know all this so well, how can we still make mistakes and still suffer? We know these things, but we have not internalized this. We have not really reflected on this truth. These truths have not changed us. Buddhism may be about membership, numbers of people, what you believe. But the Dharma, Buddha Dharma, is about change. It's about transformation. We recognize change, we know we change, and we do change. We do become better. We do become more at peace with ourselves. We understand ourselves better. We let go of the idea of self. We don't think of this is mine, this I am, this is myself. Only in a conventional sense. When we talk, just to make sense, we may talk like that. But we know we don't really own this. And this is where I'll give a quick tip. If you have problems, you worry a lot, you have fear, or your friends have fear and worry a lot, you tell them, don't own the pain. I've said this many times. Remember this. Don't own the pain. In other words, when you have a situation, a problem, it can be anything. You look at the problem objectively. Subjectively, the opposite is, oh, how is that? You say, oh, I am suffering. Now you say, there's an I there. This suffering has come to me, right? Something I have is missing or is hurt and so on, right? Why don't people think of me? Why don't people care for me? And so you're thinking in terms of self, that there is suffering. So when we say, don't own the self, remove I, me, mine from the context. Instead, talk about the problem as it is. For example, anger is a very easy example. Let's say you got very angry. Just stop for a while and say, don't say, I am angry. The eyes that you say, this is anger. This is anger, right? So that's different. When you say this is anger, you are looking at it and you don't accept it. You say, this is anger. Then, of course, you go on to say things like, this is not good. This feeling is terrible. I don't like this feeling. I'm letting go of it. Anger is gone, okay? So this is the skillful means of not owning the pain. Remember, don't own the pain, all right? Okay, now you know this one. I'm going to try something new with you, okay? We're going to do responsive reading. In the next section, I will read the Buddha's line, and then you turn on your microphone just for this moment. You turn on your microphone, and then you respond by reading the monk's line, the 5 monks line, the next line. Okay, so Buddha, 5 monks, Buddha. Are you all ready? You can, if you like, you can turn on your microphone so I can hear your voices too. Just for this reading. Yes. Okay. Right. Are we number 2? Right. Okay. Number 2. Are you ready? Oh no. You gone too far down, brother. Up a bit. Yeah. Up some more. Up some more. Yes. Yeah. Number 2 or 3, isn't it? Is that correct?
2.
Yeah.
Yes.
After this. Yeah. Okay. This is the one, right? 14. Is perception permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent.
This one is impermanent, unsatisfactory, or satisfactory?
Unsatisfactory.
This one is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and subject to change, fit to be regarded as this is mine, this I am, this is myself.
No.
Formations, permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent.
This one is impermanent, unsatisfactory, or satisfactory?
Unsatisfactory.
This one is impermanent, unsatisfactory, or subject to change, fit to be regarded thus. This is mine, this I am, this is myself.
No,
Bhante.
Is consciousness permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent.
Is what is impermanent unsatisfactory or satisfactory?
Unsatisfactory.
What is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and subject to change, fit to be regarded thus. This is mine, this I am, this is myself.
No,
Okay, sadhu. Okay, you may switch off your microphone now. Okay, so this is responsive reading. You can even do this in your gatherings, be very beautiful. Just take a short passage. Don't do too long, then become tiresome. Just select certain contexts, and then you can do responsive reading. So it helps us to remember some important facts, okay, truths. Now we come, so the Buddha has this Socratic method, question answer, to show that the truth is simple, but we got to remember this. Now the Buddha goes on to show the universality, the total truth of what he has taught. That is not just true of Buddhism. It is a thing about the Buddha Dharma. It is universal, okay? And this is an example of that universality, section 17. Okay, this section is called the non-self-totality pericope. This is a Greek word, pericope. Pericope, simple word is stock phrase, stock, S-T-O-C-K. That means this passage is very famous, it repeats itself, okay? It's found elsewhere also in other suttas. Section 17, therefore bhikshus. So after giving all the earlier teachings, now the Buddha comes to a conclusion. Therefore, bhikshus, any kind of form whatsoever, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or inferior, far or near, okay? So this one is the various definitions of various aspects of form. Okay, the Buddha is trying to show the different aspects. So first, whether past, present, future is very obvious. It is in terms of time. So the Buddha is saying it's not just present form, which is like this. Form in the past, form in the future also will be like this. There's no exception. Okay, so notice how careful and how exact, how complete the Buddha's wisdom is, his teaching are. Then internal or external. Okay, so in other words, this form, whether internal form or external form. Here meaning physical form, for example, eye, nose, tongue, body, or external form. Okay, here we can interpret differently. It can mean other people's body also the same. Other beings, animals also same, also impermanent, suffering non-self. Right? Now, gross or subtle. Okay. Here, one explanation is that gross meaning whatever we sense it through impact of the senses, like seeing, smelling, tasting. Right? And subtle refers to where the sensing is a little subtle, like thinking, you very hard to notice how it's not as simple as watching, but it's how light hits the eyes. Because thought also, you have the object outside and then the mind, you see, but there is this impact, right? So even the mind also same. Anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanent, suffering, non-self, right? Inferior or superior. Okay, here, inferior refers something pleasant. Inferior something unpleasant, something we don't like, or even something we like, something superior, something we say, oh, I like this. Also the same. Sometimes we say, oh, I like this, it's wonderful, and we think it is something good, But it's the same. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. All right. Far or near. I like this one. Okay. Near, of course, in our body, if you like, or in our own world, on this planet. Far, you go anywhere else. You go to Mars. China is going to Mars. Okay, there also the strict characteristic apply. And this is what the test of religion. You know, we're on the verge of meeting aliens, you know, maybe. Imagine if we do meet aliens, all those aliens in the Star Wars and Star Trek and Stargate, and they come here, they say, oh, what is this? About Buddhism and so on, right? So the question I like to ask various religions is, which religion would really make sense to the aliens who come from other galaxies? I mean, if we talk about God and all this big ship being built and the big flood, okay, fine, you know, for our folk tales, but it won't make sense to these aliens. Okay, so what? You know, it doesn't apply to my planet, you know. But when you listen to the Buddha and the Buddha says, oh, everything is impermanent, suffering and non-self, I'm sure these aliens will say, wow, you know, this is true of our planets also. Far reaches of the galaxy also true, far or near. Okay, and then the next one applies to, next one is feeling. Okay, let's go up a bit more. Can we go, yeah, up please, yes. Then all forms should be seen as they really are with right wisdom. Notice with right wisdom. Thus, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. So notice here again, the Buddha repeat this important line. You have to acknowledge non-self, right? Everything is like that. This is the universal truth. Now we come to reflection on feeling. Section 18, any kind of feeling whatsoever, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all feelings should be seen as they really are, with right wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Okay? So next time you see something out there, just say, this is not mine. You see the beautiful flower, this is not mine. Right? Enjoy the flower, that's all. Beauty of the flower, nice smell, yes, but don't pluck it, don't destroy it. If you're doing work, especially if you're a lawyer, in Singapore, you have many cases of lawyers running with millions of dollars away. When I was teaching in the NUS, I would just remind the students, say, you are going to be very successful professionals. All this, you may forget all these teachings given to you, but don't forget one thing, non-self. Whenever you see something attractive, a lot of money, just say, this is not mine. This is not mine, this I'm not, this is not myself. Don't take it away, you get into real trouble. All right. Section 19, any kind of perception, right? There's a noise perception whatsoever, whether past, future, present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near. All perception should be seen as they really are, with right wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. 20. Any kind of formations, any kind of karmic formations whatsoever, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all formations should be seen as they really are, with right wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Then 21, any kind of consciousness whatsoever, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all consciousness should be seen as they really are, with right wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Right, so the main teaching actually finished here. But this time something's happening to the monks, so they're beginning to see, wow, this is really a fantastic teaching. Right, so the Buddha continues, section 22. Seeing thus, notice the seeing here is not with your normal eyes, it's with the mind, with the wisdom eye. Seeing thus, bhikshus, the tutored noble disciple is revulsed and disenchanted. Remember previous lesson we talked about revulsed. No? Revulsed is disgusted. We don't want to have anything more to do with form. We don't want to own form. So revulsed here is like a key word, like a code, meaning non-self. We don't want to identify with it. That's why it's a very important word. We are revolves with form, is revolves with feeling, is revolves with perception, is revolves with formations, is revolves with consciousness, right? There's one ancient beautiful word for this, atammayata, atammayata. Not thatness. If you translate atammayata, I mean not thatness, not identifying yourself with that. I've written a whole article on this. Even Buddhadasa, the famous monk in Thailand, mentioned it's a forgotten word. So, okay, this is today's gift. If you want this article, just message me, I'll send it to you. Atammayata. Not thatness, okay? Okay, so this is the realization of arahat. Then the next part is the review knowledge, okay? 22.2. Why 0.2, you may ask? Because in the Pali text, the editor put 22, but then the second part is also important. I like to separate it by itself. So you don't see 0.1 because 0.1 is understood. It's in 22, the beginning one, and the next one is number 22.2. I use a lot of this kind of logical, commonsensical conventions. Yeah? So even you look at the way I construct my sutta, you will see, you use common sense, you'll get an idea. 0.2 is mentioned there, but 0.1 is not mentioned because it's implicit. It is implied in the first number. 22.2, the arhats review knowledge. Review knowledge means the person becomes an arahat first. Then he looks back, says, oh, okay, so this is what it is. This is what happened. Through revulsion, he becomes dispassionate. Dispassionate means normal desire, normal wanting this, wanting that. Just happy. Through dispassion, he is free. What makes us get caught in a lot of problems? Because of desire, we want this, we want that. Because he's free, then the free becomes a participle. Free. There is the knowledge. Free, right? So the arhat knows, oh, I'm free now. Okay, so there's this knowledge. Okay. Further down now. Let's go down a bit more. Yes. He understands, and now comes the wisdom. So notice this is within single quotes. Destroy this birth, normal becoming born. So in Buddhism, we're not interested in being born again. We don't want to be born again. Okay, destroy this birth. The holy life has been lived, the training done. Okay? What needs to be done has been done. All duties performed, all the studies, and practice, and meditation done. There is no more of this state of being, no more suffering, no more repeating of difficult situations. So the Buddha's word ends here. Close quote. Now the last part is the narrator telling us, giving us extra information. The sutta narrator. The Blessed One said this. This is the marker, this is the tag, meaning, okay, sutta has ended. Satisfied, the group of monks rejoice in the Blessed One's word. So now here is special. Normally when the Buddha said the monks rejoice, we are given the idea that no one got enlightened, but this is different. You'll find out in the last line. And while this discourse was being given, the minds of the group of 5 monks were, through non-clinging, there you are, non-clinging, which summarizes everything that was said in the previous paragraph, non-clinging, freed from the influxes. Okay, influxes, there's not 43, you can look up the details in your free time. Influxes are what flow through our senses and cause us suffering. We get caught up with this life here. There is, of course, first of all, essential desire, and then there is this existence, we want this, we want that, and then ignorance. We are ignorant, so we are caught up with a lot of ideas of self. And also included here are views, so all kinds of views. So in other words, this previous section talks about the 5 monks that become arhats. line 25 is only found in the Vinaya, okay, MV 1.6.47. The Vinaya editors recorded at that time there were 6 arhats in the world. Okay, so who are the 6 arhats? You have the 5 monks and the Buddha, right? So 6 arhats. So in fact, I was thinking, I said, now when we talk in this way, 6 arhats, then this is actually Sangha Day. No? Okay, now I can tell you why this sutta is called the 3 fives. Okay, first, it is taught to the 5 monks. Many of you probably thought of that. And then the number 2, what is the teaching about? The 5 aggregates. Okay. Now the third interesting point, some of you may know if you remember the previous lesson. When was this sutta taught? On the 5th day after the Dhammacakka Sutta, the first discourse, right? This is on the 5th day of the waning fortnight, the following month, okay, when the moon is becoming small, right? So there you are, 555, okay? 5 significance in that way. Yeah? Okay, so now we have 6 arhats. This is the real Sangha Day, if you like. Okay, so this one we are looking at it. Okay, now that I finished the sutta, let me close with teaching you a simple reflection on non-self. Okay, what we have learned here. And this is called the water reflection or the ripple reflection, if you like. Next time you go to any lake, especially a lake, because the sea is a bit difficult, okay? Because see the waves keep beating against the shore. When you go to the lake, you see this beautiful water. Anyway, even a river is a bit of very still water, very peaceful water. Just sit there quietly, do nothing, just sit and observe the surface of the water. Sooner or later, you notice something fall into the water. Even something as small as a leaf, or maybe a boy might throw a stone into the water. What happens? The moment the stone falls in or the leaf drops in, you see a ripple. Round, nice round ripple becoming bigger and bigger. Sometimes a few ripples. And if the stone is big enough, this ripple will be quite big, and they come towards you. And as it comes to you, just look, just watch. And you see the ripples coming and then hitting the shore, disappearing. More ripples come and hit the shore, disappear. More ripples come. The ripple seems to be coming and coming and coming and disappearing. Yet there's no end to the ripples. We call it ripple. We say the ripples are coming towards me. But now reflect on the reality. What's going on here? Look at the ripples. Reflect. If you're a scientist, it's easier for you. What's happening here is water. That's because of the force of the stone falling to the water. The ripples are forming troughs, up and down, so the water goes up, go down, go up. All happening as the water goes up, go down, go up, go down. There's this energy flowing through the surface of the water. It gives us the idea that there is a ripple, inverted comma, it's just a word. This ripple is moving towards us, but there is no such thing as a ripple. It's just what? There's no word for it. Non-self. This is a reflection on non-self. Okay, with that I will stop for the moment.